Hi, I'm Chef Julia Dunaway, and today I'm going to be making one of my most popular recipes. I've made this for a few years now, different variations. People always make this and say they like it. It's in one of my ebooks. It's probably more than one, but it's definitely in this one, Chef Julia 21-Day Challenge. And this ebook is also part of a promotion that's going on just for the next 10 days until March 2nd, 2022. So if you're watching this anytime close to that time, you can participate in purchasing the bundle, which is really a great value. It is 111 products, electronic products such as ebooks, courses, videos, and there are 111 products worth over $4,700, and you can get the bundle for $49. So the link for that will be in the show notes. And I'll talk about it again at the end. But let's get on to making the recipe. Why do we need to make red lentil soup? Well, in following the whole food plant-based no oil way of eating, I tend to eat a lot of beans, legumes, tofu, things that have the protein that I'm looking for. And red lentil soup is one of the things that is kind of a staple. It's great to have around, it's great to have leftovers, and it just has a really good taste to it. There's just something about it. It has a nice texture, and it's one of those kind of soups that most everybody likes. And it's full of great ingredients. My ingredients over here, you can see them all laid out here. First of all, some kind of red lentils. You can get organic red lentils in the bulk section of the grocery store. You can order them online. They're easy to find. Some common everyday vegetables that I'll be cutting up: celery, a couple of celery ribs, a carrot, I've already peeled it, jalapeno, optional, not everyone likes spicy. And then of course always going to be some garlic, a couple of cloves, and then we'll put some lemon in later, and then we have a lot of different spices, but not heavily spiced, just your typical paprika, cumin, coriander. Maybe we can put some red chili in. Vegetable broth is what we use, and so it's very simple. But the first thing we have to do is we have to get these vegetables chopped and sauteed. And the way I like to do it is I like to use a skillet. Even though we're going to use I think this is a 5-quart pot to cook the soup, I like to actually saute the vegetables in a skillet. And the reason for that is there's a lot more surface area in the skillet than there is in the Le Creuset pot. I think I'll use this higher burner here, so we'll get it going quicker. So I can do it a lot faster in my saute pan, in my skillet. Throw it in there and get it cooking. I'm all about, efficiency. I don't want to have to spend all this time stirring the vegetables in the smaller pot. So I'm always going to start with an onion, and with the onion, I just cut the top off. I need about a cup of onion. In my experience with these giant Texas onions, it's about half of one of these big onions. I have a little bowl over here where I keep my scraps. And the nice thing about having a scrap bowl is you can use those scraps to make your own stock, as long as you don't put anything too crazy in there. Like you wouldn't want to put cauliflower in your scrap bowl and then make stock with it. Probably wouldn't taste that good. But, onions, carrots, celery, peppers, your typical things taste pretty good in a stock. So I keep this around, and I also put it in my compost bin. So I take the onion, cut a couple of vertical slices, and then, the onion has lines. You can look at your onion, you can see it has lines on it. If you remember to cut down the lines of your onion, then you'll end up with 1/4-inch pieces, which is so handy. You don't have to worry about how to get it the right size. And then I just rotate it, and then I just quickly cut my little 1/4-inch pieces. Does it have to be exactly 1/4-inch pieces? No, but that's just considered small diced onions, and that's a perfect size to go in a soup. And we'll just throw them in the pan, and see our pan's already sizzling because I've had it preheating, and I'm not using oil, because in the whole food plant-based lifestyle that I have, it's also no oil. I don't use any kind of processed oils, any kind of, sesame oil, canola oil, even extra virgin olive oil. I just don't use oil. Oil is a processed food, has a lot of fat, a lot of calories, and in the method that I use of following the whole food plant-based lifestyle, we just omit the oil. So I'm cutting up the carrot. It's one pretty good sized carrot. Same thing, cutting it into strips, cutting the strips into 1/4 inch pieces. Yes, you can cook without oil, without things sticking. Surprisingly enough, the hot pan creates a good atmosphere for browning your ingredients. So you really don't need the oil to brown your ingredients, and you really don't need the oil to develop flavor. Although, you know, some people say you have to have oil for flavor. Once you get used to not having oil in your food, you kind of realize that the food actually tastes better because you taste the food more than you taste the oil. It took me a while to get to that point. So I'm putting in a couple of ribs of celery. Same thing, cut it into strips. Cut the strips into diced pieces, and then you have your celery. In my recipe, it also talks about bell pepper, adding bell pepper, and I don't have any bell pepper right now, so I'm not adding bell pepper this time, but a lot of times I'll add the equivalent of 1/2 of a red bell pepper. And I usually use the red bell peppers more in the summertime because I grow tons of peppers in the garden. So I'll have all these green and red and orange and yellow bell peppers around from my garden. And so it's really easy to get them into a number of different dishes. So right now I just don't have them. I also don't have my bench scraping tool that makes it easy to get stuff off the cutting board. But that's okay. All right, so you see I've got my vegetables in here. I just need to add a couple more things, garlic and jalapeno pepper. So just to mince the garlic, if you cut the hard end off of it and then you press on the peel comes right off. Came off a little too good on that one. So I'll do it on this one. So I cut off the hard end, and then I just take my knife and press it. That was much cleaner. And then the hard skin comes right off. And what's nice about that is you don't have to then try to peel skin off garlic, which, you know, that's kind of a pain. You don't want to have to do that. And then we're just gonna chop up this garlic. We don't have to mince it up too tiny. Just chop it up, rough chop it. It's gonna cook down. But we don't want giant chunks because, you know, garlic is one of those things that most people don't like to bite into giant chunks of garlic in their food. So that's about right. It's a little bit smaller than the chopped, but not tiny. And last but not least, we'll throw in our jalapeno. This isn't one of those big ones, Texas. I don't know why, you know, it used to be jalapeno peppers were sort of small, and now when I go to the store to buy them, they're always these gigantic monster size peppers, and they're not very spicy. They're kind of mild, which is good, because you can always spice up your food with cayenne pepper and red chili flakes and other things. But I know plenty of people that don't like their food super spicy, so I've learned to kind of keep things on the milder side and let people add their own hot sauce or red chili sauce or whatever they like. Because once you make it really hot, you can't undo it, okay? All right, so what I'm gonna do to brown these is they've developed some nice caramelization, and that's what gives flavor. So that's why I don't add water. There's a big mistake that a lot of plant-based, no oil people seem to make, and that's they start cooking with a bunch of water in their pan. And basically what you're doing is you're just kind of steaming your vegetables. But instead of doing that, we want to let the vegetables develop some nice little brown spots, which these have. And then what we can do is we can add water or vegetable broth, vegetable stock, whatever you want to call it. And we'll do that now that they've had an opportunity to brown. We'll add the equivalent of only 2 tablespoons of the vegetable broth. And then what I like to do to give it time to soften and cook is put the cover on it and let it cook for like 5 minutes. Oops, excuse me. 5 minutes, and then we'll have our vegetables ready to go in with the rest of the ingredients. Okay, let's check on our vegetables, and yep, they're nice and brown, perfectly. So, and that's what I want. I didn't want to have to stand here over this smaller pot and wait for them to cook down like this. And then I'm going to deglaze my pan a little bit with a little vegetable broth to get off the vegetables that are still on there. That way we don't miss out on any of the flavor that developed there. And my pans are non-stick, so they're easy to clean. I don't mind having the extra pot. It doesn't bother me. Some people might say they don't want to dirty up 2 pans, so they'll use their stovetop pan. And then I'll also get the question, a lot of times people will say, well, can't you make this in the Instant Pot? And my experience is, even though I teach people how to make red lentil soup in the Instant Pot, it doesn't taste as good. It just doesn't taste the same. Okay, so we've got our vegetables, and an important component is our red lentils. So I have 2 cups of red lentils, and you can see they're already in my strainer because I put the 2 cups of lentils in here and rinse them off. The reason for rinsing them off is if you don't, they taste kind of dusty. I don't know how to describe it other than I have had lentil soup where in the beginning when I first started making it, I didn't realize you were supposed to rinse off the lentils. I thought they were like, I don't know, rice or something in a package. And I didn't rinse them off, and then the soup had this weird taste, and I went back and looked at it and I thought, I should have rinsed them off. Okay, 3 cups of vegetable broth. And then I'm going to use 3 cups of water. So I'm going to get the vegetable broth in here. I'm going to let it start coming to a boil, and then I can add all the other stuff. So I've got my lentils, all the vegetables, garlic, the 3 cups of vegetable stock, and I'm going to go ahead and put the water in here. My lentils kind of stuck together when I rinsed them off. They'll come apart though. All right, so then I've got to get my 3 cups of water. I've got 2 cups here. I just need to get 1 more cup. Get that real quick. So it's all together 6 cups of liquid. Now, could you use all vegetable broth or stock? Yeah, you could, but the kind I use does have some sodium in it, so I like to kind of use half water and half stock. And then I found if I put a teaspoon of this Better Than Bouillon, just 1 teaspoon, it's an organic Better Than Bouillon vegetable base, which does have some sodium in it, but it also has a lot of other concentrated flavors from vegetables and vegetable juice. And last time I made this, it's not coming out of my spoon, I found that this kind of boosted the taste and gave it a lot more flavor. So I went ahead and decided to start adding just that 1 teaspoon of vegetable base. But you don't have to do that. If you don't, it still tastes great. But sometimes I play around with my recipes and try to improve them. And that was something that I thought improved it. I'm adding a can of diced tomatoes. You could also add crushed tomatoes, pureed tomatoes, tomato sauce, whatever kind of tomato product you have around. Don't add tomato paste though, because that would be too strong. So some kind of tomatoes. Let's add our spices. We can add a couple of bay leaves. They kind of create some nice flavor. So we'll stick the bay leaves in there, just 2 small ones. And then we'll add these spices, and you can vary these as well. Like I like to put a half a teaspoon of ground coriander. If you really love coriander, you could add a little more, but don't go too crazy with anything, because I think sometimes then you can have too much of a good thing and it's not always great. Same thing with cumin, half a teaspoon of cumin. Cumin is a kind of a strong tasting spice, and putting too much cumin in your dish is not a good idea, because it can then just, all you taste is cumin. Paprika, I'm using a teaspoon and a half. People will always ask me then if I use paprika, oh, I like smoked paprika. Can't we use that? Well, I'm one of the people that doesn't like smoked paprika. In fact, I don't like it at all. I kind of hate it. I'm going to put in a few red chili flakes. So I don't like to put it in anything. However, if you love smoked paprika and you want to use it, just remember it's going to make whatever you make with it taste really strong of a kind of a smoky flavor. And it can almost be an unpleasant smokiness, I think. So just be advised, too much of a good thing is not always great. Okay, then we're not going to add cayenne pepper because we added red chili flakes. I'm going to add a dash of tamari. I say a dash, but I'm going to measure it out because people always then say, well, what is a dash? It's going to be 1/4 teaspoon of tamari, and tamari is a traditionally brewed form of soy sauce. It's kind of got a really nice umami kick to it that makes things taste really good. So what we have to do now is we have to bring this to a boil and then let it simmer for about 30 minutes. And after 30 minutes, this will be ready to eat. And then we can plate it up, put some garnish on it. We'll add some lemon to it once it's finished cooking. And I have some freshly ground pepper. I have some cilantro that we'll be using to put on top. We could use scallions, just whatever you like. And then also I have some jalapeno hot sauce that I like. But for right now, we just have to let it come to a boil and start letting it simmer for about 30 minutes before we can get to the point where we get to taste it. Okay, the soup's been cooking for 30 minutes. You can see it's been cooking away and it looks great. All the tomatoes have kind of cooked down, and the lentils, of course, red lentils, they do kind of lighten up and they don't look red. They look more like, you know, orange. So people are always confused and they say, well, red lentils don't look red, but they really are. And I'm going to take out the equivalent of, say, 4 ladles or about 2 cups. Oops. I don't want to process the bay leaf because we don't want any bay leaves in our soup that are ground up. That's not a good taste. So there should be another bay leaf in there somewhere. Oh, here it is. Usually you pick the bay leaves out before you do anything because you don't want to eat a bay leaf. And then I'm just going to blitz this. It'll take a second in the food processor or the blender. And that was it. That just, it's already, you know, so cooked that it doesn't take any time at all to puree it in the blender. And what that does is it just gives it sort of a nice thicker broth than just the liquid. So then you end up with just a better texture. So to plate this up, all we're going to do is take our ladle, and you can see some solids in here. There are some little pieces of pepper and onion and carrots, the different things in the soup. And I think that makes it more interesting because when I've made this before in the Instant Pot, it just kind of changed. It just turned into like all one texture, which I did not like. Okay, and then the lemon, we can add lemon to the whole pot, or we can add a squeeze of lemon to the soup as we eat it. I'll just put it in my soup, and then I can add it there too. And again, remember, I talked about hot sauce. I like a little of the hot sauce on top. I did add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, kosher salt, and some freshly ground pepper to the pot of soup right during the cooking time. So that is in the recipe, 1/2 teaspoon of each. And then for the garnish, I have some cilantro. You can also use parsley. I like to put some green herb on top of my soup. I think it just makes it look brighter, fresher, tastier, and it gives it a little bit of just a little flavor boost. So I'll put some of my cilantro, and again, parsley is another good thing to put on top. We could put some sliced jalapenos. We could put some Fresno chilies, you know, anything you like. Oh, scallions are good. And then all that's left to do is to enjoy it. Now it's going to be kind of hot, so I can't take a giant bite, but I can taste it. It's just as good as it always is. It has all the flavors I love about lentil soup. And it's just good. So I hope you make this. For some reason, lentil soup tastes better the next day. It freezes well. It lasts for several days in the fridge, 4 to 5 days. And it tastes good. You can take like a scoop of rice, serve it with rice, brown rice, white rice, or put it on baked potato, put potato in your soup. There's so many different things you can do with it. It always tastes great. So I hope you make this. And also don't forget, it's part of the bundle. It's in my ebook, Chef Julia 21-Day Challenge. And of course, I'll post the recipe here in the show notes. But I also want you to be aware of the bundle and the big value of getting 111 products worth over $4,700 for $49. I'll put the link to the bundle in the show notes, so take advantage of that. It's only good until March the 2nd. So this is you may be watching this video when this is all over with, and the bundle offer will be over March 2nd, 2022. But you'll still have the recipe. So either way, you'll still get this recipe. But I would like to, emphasize taking advantage of such a great offer, because I personally looked at it myself to see what of those 111 ebooks and courses and videos and things I might find useful. And I found quite a few, and I have a huge collection of cookbooks. So anybody can find something useful in that whole bundle. So thank you for watching. Continue to watch my videos on YouTube. I usually do one every week. I have a Facebook group called Chef Julia Support Group, where I help people follow the daily dozen and eat a whole food plant-based diet. And I also have a business page called Chef Julia Instagram, and hope that you find me on in one of those things and follow what I do, because I'm really passionate about cooking whole food, plant-based, no oil food that tastes really good. So thanks for watching, and I hope you make this delicious red lentil soup and enjoy it. Bye-bye for now.